You know that feeling when you first switch a game from survival to creative mode? Suddenly, the hunger bar vanishes, the gravity of your limitations just stops. You aren't worried about finding food or surviving the night. You have every resource in the game in infinite quantities right at your fingertips. In the game, it's a relief, but in real life, we're told creative mode is impossible. We're told life is a 100% survival only server where you have to grind every single day just to keep your health bar full. But what if that isn't entirely true? What if creative mode in the real world isn't about having infinite money, but about changing the mechanics of how you interact with your environment? Most people spend 40 years playing a high-stress survival game, never realizing that the creative settings were actually available the whole time. They're just hidden behind a layer of psychology and systems that nobody ever taught us to look for. Today, we're going to look at the research behind why we feel stuck in survival mode and how the world's most effective people are actually playing a completely different game. In a game, the difference between survival and creative is simple: resources. In survival, you mine one block to get one block. In creative, you place a block and you still have an infinite supply. In the real world, this is the difference between labor and capital. Most of us are taught to value labor, the one block for one block trade. You work an hour, you get paid for an hour. It's honest, it's clear, but it's mathematically limited. You only have 24 hours in a day. You have a render distance on your energy. The infinite supply glitch in real life is capital. Think of capital like a self-replicating block. When you own a piece of a business, a property, or a system, that asset is working while you're sleeping. It doesn't get tired, it doesn't have a hunger bar. Economist Thomas Piketty wrote a massive 700-page book called Capital in the 21st Century just to prove one simple mathematical point. Over long periods of time, the return on owning things almost always grows faster than the return on working for things. If you only play the labor game, you're playing on hardcore survival. If you start building a portfolio of assets, you're slowly unlocking the creative mode menu. One of the best parts of creative mode is flying. You aren't bothered by the terrain. You can see the whole map from above. In real life, flying is the ability to make decisions without being grounded by immediate financial friction. There's a concept in psychology called bandwidth poverty. Research from Harvard and Princeton shows that when people are constantly worried about basic survival, paying rent, buying groceries, their effective IQ actually drops by about 13 points. It's like playing a game with 5 FPS and massive lag. You can't think strategically because you're too busy trying not to die. Playing life in creative mode starts with creating financial flight. This isn't about being a billionaire, it's about having a margin of safety. When you have 6 months of expenses saved, you've essentially turned off the gravity of immediate panic. You can fly above the bad boss, the stressful commute, or the fear of a car breakdown. From that height, you see opportunities that the people on the ground, struggling through the tall grass, simply can't see. You're no longer playing a game of how do I survive today? You're playing where do I want to build tomorrow? In creative mode, your inventory is infinite, but you only ever use a few blocks at a time. You don't hoard 64 stacks of dirt just because you might need them later. In the real world, we do the opposite. We are wired by evolution to hoard. We collect stuff, status symbols, and upgrades that don't actually change our gameplay, but they definitely increase our encumbrance. There's a famous study on the Hedonic treadmill. It shows that as people earn more, their expectations and desires rise in tandem, resulting in no permanent gain in happiness. If you spend everything you earn to level up your lifestyle, you're still in survival mode. You're just in a more expensive biome. True creative mode is realized when you decouple your happiness from your spending. If you can live a level 5 lifestyle while earning at level 10, you are effectively playing with infinite resources. The surplus is what builds the structures. The surplus is what buys your freedom. The most successful creative mode players in the real world, people like Warren Buffett or the late Ronald Reed, often live very simple lives. They're not interested in the cosmetic skins of wealth. They're interested in the mechanics of the game. In creative mode, you don't just build a house, you build a city. You build massive redstone machines that automate everything. In the real world, this is called systems thinking. Survival mode players focus on goals, like saying, I want to earn $10,000. Creative mode players focus on systems. They say, I want to build a process that generates value whether I'm there or not. Think about a writer. A survival mode writer writes a freelance article, gets paid once, and is back at zero. A creative mode writer builds a book or builds a newsletter. That content stays in the world forever. It's a permanent structure that continues to provide value and income for years. Every time you build a system, whether it's an automated investment, a digital product, or a business process, you are placing a bedrock block. It cannot be destroyed by a bad day or a lapse in motivation. The goal of life isn't to work harder. It's to build structures that do the work for you. The secret to playing real life in creative mode isn't a cheat code. It's a slow transition. It starts with one creative decision. First, mining the margin, saving that first $1,000 so you can stop worrying about small emergencies. Second, enchanting your time, spending an hour building a system instead of just doing a task. And third, viewing the map, looking at your life from 10 years out instead of 10 minutes out. You might be in survival mode today. You might be low on health and surrounded by mods, but every system you build and every asset you acquire is a click on the settings menu. Eventually, you'll look around and realize the hunger bar is gone. The gravity doesn't feel as heavy. You're no longer just trying to survive the night. You're building, and that's when the real game begins. Building these systems is the hardest part, but once they're running, they don't stop. If you want to see exactly how I applied these creative mode principles to my own finances, you should definitely watch my next video where I break down the specific structures that changed everything.